Hello, this is Orlando Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Welcome home.
Soar into tower. We are ready for takeoff.
Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Hey, it's Amy from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey Clubbers, it's Scott from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, it's Kathleen from DVC Clubhouse.
Welcome aboard. It's Phil from DVC Clubhouse.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Debrief Podcast, brought to you by DVC Clubhouse. This is Amy, and I'm joined by Phil tonight. Hey, Phil.
Welcome aboard, guys. Welcome back, Amy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I wish that I was still there, but...
Don't we always?
Yeah. Yeah, I came back to a house that is... I'm getting ready to sell my house, so you and I are living kind of parallel lives in the...
I'm getting ready to keep
here.
my house, which is why we're upgrading the kids' bedrooms, but you're getting ready to sell your house, which is why you're upgrading everything. So a little bit of a difference there, but yeah, I feel your pain. No access to rooms, kitchens, disaster, furniture everywhere, the smell of paint, it's awful.
Yeah, the chaos is just everywhere. So it was particularly hard to come home after a absolutely spectacular trip to Disney World to celebrate my daughter Allie's 21st birthday. I honestly have to say, you know, when you go so often, I enjoy every time I go. But this was one of those trips that is going to be, a memory that we will, total core memories. I mean, I can't even begin to really explain to you like how much this trip meant to me. We flew in late on Wednesday night. We landed at around a little bit after 7, and we stayed at All Star Music that night. Because we didn't want to spend the money because I was out of points. So I had booked us at the
There's
at the
a
Boardwalk.
shocker.
Yeah. Well, I sold my beach club contract.
My offer remains. I have 100 points banking ahead to next year. We can work out a deal. I mean, the juice is pretty heavy, but we could work something out.
Well, this ended up working out for me because I booked a room at the Boardwalk Inn, just a resort view. Figured just get the least expensive room I could get.
Yeah, she's going to be schnockered. She's not going to remember it anyway.
Exactly. And it was her request to stay at the Boardwalk because it's her. It's the resort. Even though we owned at Beach Club for her whole life, because of those standard viewpoints at Boardwalk. Even back then, when we were new Beach Club owners, back in 2005 and 6 and 7, when she was a baby, it was so much easier to get a Boardwalk standard view then. So we stayed there all the time to make our points go farther.
I can't imagine a time when it would be easy to get a Boardwalk standard view. The only time we've ever gotten it has been when we've traded straight up points with a Boardwalk owner because they wanted to stay at Poly. Other than that reservation is made of unobtainium. Yeah,
well, that's because there were only, 4 DVC resorts at the time, and it wasn't as hard to get because you didn't have as many people in the ownership pool. We stayed there very frequently. We stayed at all of the resorts, but that was the resort that we stayed at the most frequently because of those low points. And so when we were planning this trip, she requested to stay at Boardwalk, and I didn't have the points, so I booked a hotel rate. But we stayed at All Star Music the first night because I did not want to shell out the Boardwalk money for. We were arriving after 7 o'clock at night, so we stayed at All Star Music. And I have to say, I think that of the All Star resorts, I think All Star Music is kind of like the least chaotic. It didn't seem as crowded as, and it makes sense because it's the least expensive. So you would imagine that it's because has the most availability, I would guess. But we stayed there the first night. We went to Disney Springs, and I took her over to Riverside. But at that point she was not yet 21, so she wasn't interested in staying late. So we headed back to All Star Music, and then the next day we got up in early morning. We went over to Boardwalk, and when we pulled up, the valet asked me if I had gotten the text that our room was ready yet, and I had not yet gotten it. So he was like, "Oh well, I'll take your bags." And I said, "You know what? Let me just go inside because I just checked out of All Star Music, and sometimes like I've had the experience where the next hotel that I'm going to, like they haven't gotten the memo that I've actually checked out of the first one, so it hasn't released the room and shown it as available." So I went in and I checked in, and the woman said to me, the woman standing there with the iPad in the lobby, she was like, "Oh, you're staying club level." And I was like, "I am." That's news to me. Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, well, I have you down for a club level boardwalk view room." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yep,
And so
absolutely. That's me. Absolutely.
Yeah. So some guy walks over, he escorts us upstairs to the club
I'm just thinking
level.
of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. That's like how I felt. Like I felt like I was like a total imposter, and I was like afraid that they had made a mistake. I didn't want to get too excited because I was sure that this was
Move your stuff in quick.
Yeah, yeah. So they tell us the room's not ready, but we can go up to the lounge. We can help ourselves to whatever we need to, and they bring us up to the fourth floor and over to the innkeeper's club, and right outside of the door there's a desk with the concierge sitting there. And and they told us that the hotel was at capacity, and so we were the lucky recipients of the upgrade. And and Allie, and it was just so fun because she was so excited. And we went down to the club, and at that point it was empty. There was nobody there. It was the middle. It was like just after they had like put breakfast away, so everyone had eaten their breakfast and gone about their day. But they told us, like, we'll get you anything you want. We just put stuff away, but if you need anything, we can get it for you. They brought me a pog juice mimosa. They brought her some mocktail. And
Wait, back up. Was she 21 yet?
no, that's why they brought her a mocktail.
Okay, I was going to say, I thought day one. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So the next day was her birthday. So this first day, she couldn't help herself to any of the alcohol that was for free.
I was going to say, how did this work?
Yeah. And and at Disney, it's like they have access to my Disney experience. So you can't even pull the wool over their eyes. They know how old everybody is. So while we waited for our room to be ready, we went over to the Winter Summerland golf course. Have you ever played mini golf there?
Never at Disney, no.
So I had played at Fantasia Gardens, but I had never done Winter Summerland. It was really, really cute. Like it was like a whole vibe. Like they play Christmas music while you're there. It was just so well done. It was like so Disney Land mini golf course. It's definitely better than the Fantasia Gardens one. But so we had a great time, and then we, when that was done, we went back to the lounge. We were sitting there for maybe 30 minutes before our room was ready. And we walk into this room with this amazing view of the boardwalk. And it's a really different experience. It was my first time staying in a room in the inn that had a boardwalk view. And when you stay on the villa side, you're looking over at the inn, and it was like a really cool experience to be looking over at the villas from our room. It was just, and the weather was so spectacular. I mean, I had a complete opposite experience.
Well, you've already got me beat based on my last trip. It was not spectacular.
Yeah, it was a complete opposite experience from what you had. It was just perfect weather. We had so much fun. So, the next day we woke up, her father, my ex-husband, flew down for the day, and we went and, we did the whole drinking around the world thing. We ended up at Port Orleans Riverside and had so much fun. And then the next day we went to Animal Kingdom for a little while. We went to Magic Kingdom for a little bit. And then I of course took her to California Grill. I had to treat her to dinner at California Grill because she could now sit
The
at the bar.
surprises just keep coming.
But you have to understand this is a big milestone for me to be able to have her sit at the bar with me so that we don't have to do the prefix because she loves that.
So you don't have to drink alone. This was not so much about her sitting with you. It was to have someone so you're not drinking alone at the bar.
No, I don't mind about drinking alone. What I mind is that she loves California Grill. I mind spending $99 per person. So to be able to order a la carte, we got 3 appetizers. We each had a glass of wine, and she just was like beaming. She loved it. Later that night, we went back to the boardwalk, and we're sitting at Bellevue Lounge, and she's just going on about how much she loves Boardwalk and all of the memories that we've made since she was a little girl, staying at Boardwalk because, again, we were beach club owners, but because we could get these low point rooms, we stayed there all the time. And that's what her memories were staying at Boardwalk, and always like her favorite resort. And she said to me, I feel like even like when I'm at Disney, I don't really feel like I'm like fully at Disney or it's fully complete until I'm at the Boardwalk. And she said to me, like, why didn't you ever buy Boardwalk? I said to her, well, we had bought Beach Club in 2002 when it was being built. And so she was like, well, you should really buy points here. And all of a sudden, as I was sitting here in the midst of this amazing trip, hearing my daughter talk about how much she loves Boardwalk, remembering all of these memories, despite the fact that I just sold my beach club contract because it expires in 2042, I'm all of a sudden really strongly considering buying a Boardwalk contract because hearing her talk about it makes me want to be able to continue to make those memories. And, as you said, it's like really, really hard to get a reservation there if you don't own there. And so I feel like I'm in this situation right now where nostalgia and emotion is driving the train here, and all logic is out the window because the logical part of me that sold Beach Club because it expires in 2042. And I did struggle with that decision. That was an emotional decision, but I finally was like, this is the right choice. Here I am sitting with my daughter thinking, you know what, that wouldn't be a bad idea to buy this resort that expires in 2042.
And as I pointed out before we started recording, you are sitting with your newly 21-year-old daughter who has been drinking all day, listening to her sound long-term financial planning.
Yes. Well, as I mentioned to you, she said to me, well, listen, in 2042, I'll be 37 years old and I'll be making my own adult money. So you buy Boardwalk now. And then when I turn 37, we can figure out what we're going to do
So
next.
you buy Boardwalk, so I want it. And if I've got enough money, maybe I'll invite you on vacation every now and then.
Right. Essentially, yes.
Just making sure I've got the facts straight here.
So yeah. So now I'm in this situation where I feel like because of this amazing trip I just had, am I going to buy a Boardwalk contract? The plan was always after I sold my house and once they started selling Lakeshore Lodge to buy a bunch of points there. But now I'm starting to think, should I be buying a contract at maybe even a small contract at Boardwalk so that I can access those standard or now resort view rooms?
Okay, well, before we get to the whole nostalgia is just completely overriding your brain. And in fact, that is what Disney relies on. I just want to point out that I am still surprised that you are holding so steadfast on your Lakeshore Lodge plans. Number one, because it takes you away from Crescent Lake. And I know how much you love Bay Lake, and I know how much you love that view. But I also know how much you love Crescent Lake, so that surprises me. I also know how much you love Disneyland, how much you love the Disneyland Hotel, and how easy it is to get a 7-month summer on property in Florida. So I'm surprised you are still so set on Lakeshore, knowing what other options exist.
All right. So I will, and you're right about all of that. And I, for a while, was really thinking I was going to split buy 2 contracts, one at Lakeshore Lodge and one at the Villas at Disneyland Hotel, because I love it. I love the idea of staying at those garden view rooms, that because those all have balconies or a terrace, so you're guaranteed to get outdoor space with your room. But the more I think about it, I just that I feel like because I know I won't be going every year, I'll probably just when I do go just pay cash for Disneyland. And that feels like it makes more sense than buying a contract that I can only that that the 11-month advantage is at a place that I won't be going every year, and then when I do go needing to be paying that transient tax. So,
I've thought about dumping all of my poly for West Coast. I really have because I love Disneyland so much and there's so much just scattered inventory in Florida that I have seriously considered dumping all 275 poly points and buying over at Disneyland.
yeah. Well, I thought about it for a long time, and I kind of like for a little bit had my mind made up that's what I was going to do. But I can't remember who I was talking to. I think I was talking to somebody at Clubhouse Weekend, and they were kind of talking it through with me, and I realized I'd rather just pay cash at Disneyland uh, than have my contract there. And then I was thinking, okay, so then I'll buy a bunch of points at Lakeshore Lodge, and I'll split it into two contracts. And then, down the road, I can leave one to each of my daughters. But now this boardwalk thing, and you're right. I love Crescent Lake so much. I would rather be, as much as I love Bay Lake. Here's something that I need to remember too. You don't get a view of the sunrise from Lakeshore Lodge. It rises behind Fort Wilderness, which I didn't realize until I stayed at Fort Wilderness and went out to that beach and was like, "Hey, where's the sun?" And then I turned around and I was
Rises
like,
behind. I've said it before. You can pass the fried chicken out the back window of Hoop-de-Doo into that building. It's that close.
but you don't get the sunrise over the lake. It's over the trees. And
It's
so,
one of the reasons that bay view from Contemporary is just so damn nice. We booked it for our next trip, and I'm looking forward to it. I love that morning view.
it is. I think at this point, I am starting to waver a little bit because I am very excited about Lakeshore Lodge. I have now sold my only direct contract. I only have a resale contract left. And I do want to be able to have access to use my points at every DVC resort. So I don't want to restrict myself to resale for that reason. So yeah, I have some decision making that needs to happen. And I think that it'll depend also on what the points chart is at Lakeshore Lodge, because logic there would say take the emotion of Boardwalk and take the points chart of Boardwalk,
Yep.
and that is a much better deal than whatever they're probably going to value those points at
It's not
Lakeshore
going to be
Lodge at.
tiny. I mean, we know what Wilderness Lodge is going for. We know what the cabins are going for, and the cabins are somewhat reasonable for what they are. We know what else is going around Bay Lake. We know what the Contemporary point charts is. It's going to fall somewhere in there, and that's not even nearly comparable to what Boardwalk is for the points charts. That's just an incredible value.
Well, the points at Boulder Ridge are the same as like a Boardwalk view
But
at
that's going to
Boardwalk.
change along with Boardwalk. Agreed. But I don't think they're going to. But we also know what Copper Creek's going for. So I just don't see them going backwards for a brand new build. It just doesn't make sense in my head.
Right. Well, and they're going to justify it because, and I think it's probably why they're putting a lazy river there. I think that they're going to like make the amenities be the excuse for why they are able to charge so many more points at Lakeshore Lodge than they will at Boulder Ridge or Copper Creek. Or even Bay Lake for that matter. I mean, it's
But Copper
probably going to
Creek
be,
is not super low.
it's not, but it's comparable to Boulder Ridge.
It's close.
But when you think about what they priced Riviera at, that's probably where Lakeshore Lodge is going to net out.
Yeah, maybe I could. I'm not sure I could justify it even there. I'll have to see it. But I mean, the whole points chart at Riviera is just a whole other conversation that we've gotten into. We don't need to rehash that. Yeah, I don't know.
No.
That I'm surprised that you're still going in that direction with all of that stuff in play. That's all.
Well, it's a lot to think about, and right now I feel like after that, I mean, that night when we were sitting there, I was like, done. I'm going to buy Boardwalk. That's it.
That's the nostalgia point I was getting to. So my guide called me this afternoon to just a reminder, you have a March use year. If you buy before the timeline's up, then we'll give you all of this year's points and next year's points, plus whatever specials we're running. And sitting here in New England, redoing a kid's bedroom, I'm like, nah, Olivia, it's good to talk to you, but I'm just not in the market right now. Now, if Olivia was smart, Olivia would wait until we're at like day 7 of our vacation next time. And then she'll just knock on the door and be like, hey, would you guys like to buy some extra points? And I'll be handing her my credit card. They're good at this. They bank on it. They know exactly what they're doing. It comes right down to piping in the smells on Main Street. There is nobody like Disney who knows how to work with nostalgia, plain and simple. This is their MO. They've got it nailed. So if there had been a guide sitting next to you that night, you'd already own the points. That's just the way it goes, and they capitalize on that. I would say give it a couple of weeks at home in your remodeling before you make any financial decisions regarding more points.
Yeah, well, I need to sell my house first. That is, I need to sell my house, see what my house sells for, and before I start, making DVC decisions. I also need to figure out where I'm going to like actually live in real life, not just in vacation life. So
you're at Disney so much, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. So but you're right. And the thing that's really crazy about it is, I mean, we had a whole episode about Boardwalk, how, it's empty, everything, what are they doing with it? Jelly Rolls is empty. Big River Grill is empty. The art gallery is empty. We're not crazy about Cake Bake Shop. And yet still sitting there with my daughter, I like having memories of, I was sitting at Bellevue Lounge. I had run downstairs. It was like our travel day. And I told you, Allie lost her tooth. And Jake was like putting the girls to bed. And I went down to just have a glass of wine while he was getting them ready. And he called me and said, Allie lost her tooth. So I went over to the desk and they gave me the little baggie. And all of the, it's like literally like a montage, like a movie montage was like playing in my mind as I'm sitting there with Allie. And I traveled with, because it was a milestone birthday. I traveled with the outfit that she wore when at her first birthday party. I brought the ears that she wore for her Sweet 16 because she also
Are you
wanted
one
to
of
go.
those people that has like all her baby teeth stashed away in an envelope somewhere?
No.
This is getting a little creepy.
No, and in fairness, I didn't even know where this thing was, but because we're moving and I was going through stuff, I found it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring this. And I still had the ears that I got her for her 16th birthday. And then she had her, the ears that I got her for this birthday. But it was like really like a movie montage playing in my mind of all of these memories. And despite the fact that all of those storefronts are empty, I still felt every single bit of magic and memories and nostalgia as if they had all been open. It didn't matter because when it comes down to it, everything about Disney is about the feeling. That's why we go. It's why we go back. It's why, we can sit here and talk about the things that we're sad about going away. But at the end of the day, we have those memories, and the memories are like what pull us back over and over again.
Well, we know how much I love Yacht Club, and I will go on and on and on about Yacht Club. We have stayed there so many times that I say all the time, if they sold Yacht Club as DVC, I would sell Polly so fast and buy a Yacht Club. But I know for a fact that it's the same thing. I've watched the children grow up at that resort, and I've watched them grow up at Polly, and there are a lot of memories there. But I don't care if she's 35 years old, pushing my grandchildren down the hallway in a stroller. I will see a little girl down there for her second birthday with those goofy little Fraggle pigtails that stick out of the top and oversized sunglasses toddling down the hallway. I will see her playing with that Captain Mickey lamp. We talked about it earlier. It's those core memories. I will see my son playing in the sand at Stormalong Bay at 4 years old. Those are the things that just stick with you forever and ever. It's like one of my favorite guilty pleasures, and I can't believe I'm going to put this out where everybody can hear it. I love the movie Father of the Bride. Love the movie. It is just so good, so many comedic moments. But when he sees her, when she says she's getting married, growing up playing basketball, I understand that now as a father. Like I look at my
Yeah.
kids and
I
I
met a
see
man
these
in
little
Rome and we're getting
yeah.
married.
It's I totally understand it now having kids as they're getting older. And I've got one that's a teenager and one that's approaching teenager. And I said to her the other day, it doesn't matter, you're always going to be my baby. Because I think I said something to her about, hey, baby, and she's like, I'm not your baby. And I was like, sweetie, I don't care how old you get, you are always going to be my baby. And that's just the way it is. You have to accept that right now. And I know we're going to have that rebellious teenage phase. But when I walk you down the aisle, you're still going to be my baby. And that's the way it goes. So I totally understand being there for her 21st and just seeing that flashback, that movie reel of her aging through the years, and then wanting to capture that again with the boardwalk points. Like if I walked in and my daughter was walking down the hall and they were like, sir, we're turning this into DVC. What do you think? I'd be like, I will take 300 points right now. Here's some blood. Here's a DNA sample. Here's a kidney, whatever it takes, I'm buying.
Call the notary.
Right now, transfer the points to my account. We'll figure out the rest later.
Yeah. I mean, sitting there with her, and she literally said to me, this has been the best birthday and the best trip I've ever taken. And that felt, I mean,
By the way, buy more points.
right. Exactly. But she turned 21. She could have opted to hang out with her friends and go to all of the bars at school that she can't get into. And
but as I pointed out in a previous episode, she could have done that, but then she would have been paying for the alcohol. She gets to go to Disney and get other people to pay for the alcohol. That's got to weigh on the decision a little bit.
Well, presumably her friends would be buying her drinks, but yes, I mean, point taken. But it was really like a special thing that this was something that she wanted to do with me for her 21st birthday, and then to watch her be so happy and have so much fun, and being so like silly and goofy as we were like drinking around the world, and it was fun to watch her, and then to have her say that this was the best trip and the best birthday ever. I'm like, how am I not going to buy points here? Because I want to be able to recreate this memory with, with Emma maybe one day, or, come back with them when they have their kids, and have them be able to tell their kids about the time that they came and drank around the world with mom, or whatever it is, or that they lost their first tooth, or all of those memories that we have. Nostalgia is a powerful drug, and it has kind of gotten me really thinking. The gears are going in my mind. And again, it also doesn't help that I'm getting ready to sell my house. So in the world
just
of
all
like,
the emotions are crumbling down.
I have all of these emotions. Emma's graduating high school. She's going to be going to college. It's like all of the things that have been constant in our lives are changing, but Boardwalk has been constant. Disney has been constant. Boardwalk has been constant. So
everything else is changing, but Boardwalk is just there for us.
With all of its empty storefronts. So I don't know. I guess stay tuned to see what I'm going to end up doing.
Yeah. When you said you wanted to talk about nostalgia and how it overrides logic, I was curious where you were going with it, but I would love to sit here and pick on you, but I completely understand it. I really do.
And you understand too, because you love Boardwalk too.
I love Boardwalk. I love, little things that arguably I could make the point for, like Illuminations. I could make the point, nostalgia aside, that getting rid of Illuminations was awful and nothing has held a candle to it. I'll die on the Rivers of America hill. That's just all there is to it. It has nothing to do with nostalgia. But, there's a very big but, It certainly doesn't hurt that I've got all of these memories of walking with little kids down the boardwalk at Rivers of America. It certainly affects me knowing that one of Luke's earliest memories is sitting on my shoulders against the railing watching illuminations. That's one of my memories. Those things, without a doubt, are absolutely indelible memories, and they affect everything from that point forward. Always.
Those moments become a core part of each experience moving forward, because you're not just experiencing it in the present, you're experiencing it in the present with, like, through the filter of the past.
Right. And that's the thing we're always chasing. That's why we're going back and going back and going back. You're chasing the ultimate dopamine hit from those experiences. That's what you continue to book for. You're like, I've got to feel that again. That was amazing. Give me another hit, Disney. Give me another hit.
Yeah, and as I said, I mean, I go to Disney a lot, and I enjoy, and because I enjoy going, but it's not every single time that I'm there that I'm on a trip where I feel like, wow, like this is a core memory, and this trip was, and it's been a while, I think, since I've had a trip to Disney World that has felt like a core memory, and the last one probably was when I went with Allie and Emma, the first trip we did after COVID, and we had all of these points that we needed to use. So we were there for like 10 days, and it was the longest trip we had ever done. And we did like this mega split stay, and we had so much fun. But even that was like a little weird because we had to wear masks the whole time, and the social distancing and the lines or whatever. So like this trip felt like the thing that Disney memories are made of, and I was just like so grateful. And I mean, getting upgraded to club level certainly didn't hurt either. I mean, they just made Allie, the cast members, I have to really just shout out the cast members that were working on the club level floor and in that lounge. They were amazing. They went above and beyond. I went on and I paid them a cast compliment because they really went above and beyond in making Allie feel excited to be turning 21, and then celebrating her, and going out of their way to bring us champagne glasses in the room, so that because I was gonna get them, and they said to me like, oh, don't worry about it, because at midnight we had champagne. And it was funny because the fact that we got upgraded to this room and we had a boardwalk view, we could see where Jelly Rolls was. And like the idea was always that we were going to go to Jelly Rolls. So Allie made a joke as we were like sitting there toasting for her first legal drink. And there's Jelly Rolls. It was just
gone but not forgotten.
Yeah, exactly. So, they really, they on her birthday, when she walked in the morning, they had a cupcake waiting for her with her happy birthday Allie written on the plate. I mean, they were super sweet, and I'm so grateful for them too, because they really also added to what was like already a very special trip, and they just elevated the experience even more. So big thanks to those cast members for that. So
perfect.
So yeah, they did me in. So maybe my DVC guy didn't come and try to sell me points, but they were like, let's enter to club level. Let's really seal the deal. Let's get the nostalgia
I'll
going.
Send Olivia your way. She calls me 3-4 times a year.
Yeah. So yeah, so I think
right,
that about does it. Yep.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you everyone, as always, for listening and playing along with our shenanigans. If you could go over to Apple Podcast, give us a 5-star review. That would be fantastic. Amy?
And you can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, so you can follow us there. And until next time, we'll DVC you real soon.
See you guys.
And so our journey comes to an end.
Oh, no, please, can't we go back to page 1 and do it all over again?
We started this thing together, and that's how we'll finish it.
Because that, my friends, is where the magic lives.